Objectification. The manner in which various individuals or social groups treat others as objects and expressions of their own senses of reality, reducing another sense of being into a form that can be experienced universally by other individuals and social groups. Objective correlative. Concept defined by T.S. Eliot to indicate the expression of emotion through aesthetic form. Eliot suggests that an emotion is produced in the reader through a particular patterning of a set of objects, a situation, or a chain of events which shall be the formula of that particular emotion. Objet Petit A. A complex term from Lacanian psychoanalysis. Lacan suggested that objects of desire are always changing because the desiring subject is always changing too. He wanted to find a term to describe the mutability and mortality of the desired object, and to describe it in a way that disrupted what he saw as the stability of the binary desiring subject-desired object in Freudian thought. The term he came up with is Objet Petit A, where A stands for otter, French for other, distinguished from the other elsewhere in his writing by the lowercase initial letter. Objet Petit A can be anything at all that is touched by desire. Desire is fleeting and mutable, hence the object of desire is always in flux and is always just out of reach or just beyond the field of vision. In many ways, then, the term stands for desire, always understood by Lacan as absent and unattainable, but always equally constitutive of the subject, who is what he or she desires or lacks. Oedipus Complex. In Freudian psychoanalysis, the Oedipus complex refers to the whole complex of both loving and hostile feeling experienced by a child towards its parents in the process of achieving acculturated maturity. The Oedipus complex manifests itself as an intense rivalry, including the horrifying wish for his or her death, with the parent of the same sex for the love of the parent of the opposite sex, which is to be understood as a libidinal or sexualized desire. Negotiation of this complex, the relinquishing of forbidden, incestuous desire and its displacement onto suitable substitute objects. A boy must love not his mother, but a woman like his mother. A girl must love not her father, but a baby given to her by a man like her father, is required to achieve healthy adulthood. The complex is never completely successfully negotiated, however, and there are always residual edible problems in even the healthiest of adults. Ontic. Relating to epistemological inquiry concerning the real rather than the phenomenal being, existence or structure of entities. Ontology. Branch of philosophy addressing the meaning or essence of being. Ontotheology. Any form of ontological or, in general, metaphysical determination, modeled on theology, in terms of a uniquely superior being, concept or word, such as the divine of theology. Orientalism. Term coined by Edward Said naming the ensemble of Western, usually though not exclusively European discourses and other forms of representation of non-Western cultures. Said traces the history of Orientalist discourses in literature, the arts and other documents from the 18th century onwards. Otherness. Term employed throughout critical discourse in differing ways. Otherness names the quality or state of existence of being other or different from established norms and social groups, the distinction that one makes between oneself and others, particularly in terms of sexual, ethnic and relational senses of difference. In Lacanian psychoanalysis, there is the other and the other. The former signifies that which is not really other, but is a reflection and projection of the ego. The latter signifies a radical alterity irreducible to any imaginary or subjective identification. In the texts of Luz Irigaray, the other indicates the position always occupied by woman within patriarchal culture and other masculinist cultures, which privileges masculinity as self-sameness, or otherwise a signifier of presence, origin or centrality. Overdetermination. The act or practice of overemphasizing or resolving in an excessive fashion a given conclusion or psychological factor. Alternatively, a text which is said to be overdetermined is available for multiple readings from various, heterogeneous, if not theoretically or polemically incompatible positions. The term has its most specific theoretical uses in the psychoanalytical and Marxist praxis of, respectively, Sigmund Freud and Louis Althusser. For Freud, the psyche produces representations, significations and meanings in situating the subject in relation to his or her world. However, how we produce meaning is not entirely, if at all, within our conscious control, because the unconscious determines meaning through its generation and juxtaposition of images and symbols. Thus, the human mind generates overdetermined meaning where images and representations signify in more than a single manner. Meanings are produced in excess of the psyche's capability to comprehend, control or organize at any one time. For example, any dream is the result of the symbolic construction which is produced by the unconscious, but every signifying element, every image, sign or representation, verbal or visual, is overdetermined by the work of the unconscious, inasmuch as its meaning is always multiple, and therefore available to different interpretations or analyses. Within certain strands of Marxism, the notion of overdetermination, which Althusser imports specifically from Freud, operates at a social and cultural, rather than an individual, level. Overdetermination is closely related to the concept of contradiction, originating in G.W.F. Hegel's writings, and first given in explicitly Marxist articulation in a 1937 essay by Mao Zedong. Mao formulates the historical situation of China in the 1930s through an examination, as Arif Dirlik has put it, of the contradictoriness of its various moments, such as the contradiction between national and social needs, and the articulation of this contradictoriness as a contradiction between theory and practice. The contradictory elements of society at a given historical moment produce an overdetermined identity for that society, Mao argues, and, as a result of this, social contradiction is the basic law of materialist dialectics. Social historical moments are thus overdetermined inasmuch as various heterogeneous and contradictory beliefs, agendas, imperatives and systems or institutions coexist. This state of overdetermined social relations for Althusser, who draws on Lenin as well as Mao, is represented most starkly in the dialectical contradiction between labor and capital, and is further articulated in his thinking on ideology. Moreover, Althusser's structural materialist analysis and understanding of overdetermination demonstrates how the concept is specifically historical, in that specific forms and circumstances are organized differently from period to period.